I'm glad to be last because this gives me the opportunity to reflect on everything that's been said here today. And I find the conversation quite insightful because last year I pursued a master's in FinTech, and I had to be up to date with everything that was going in the AI race, as you mentioned. And the revolution that happened with the increased demand for GPUs and semiconductors was actually quite interesting. And to get to kind of reflect on that period of time when I was at school and seeing how like AI was changing week by week was quite amazing. And I love how you kind of distilled the big role players in the sectors, such as the government, the industry, and academia, and how they intersect with each other. And the topic of my questions will be about leadership. And I believe leadership is about these key players collaborating with each other. And so I'd love to know, at the intersection of technology, strategy, and national security, how can leadership look like today in our world today, and how does it look in the workplace day to day?
Yeah, it's a great question and a hard one. I think sometimes talking about people and sort of things like leadership can be harder than talking about technology. It's harder to distill sort of what actually matters and what counts because there's so many ingredients at play. I think that something that's really important and maybe underrated for leadership, specifically at the intersection of things like geopolitics and technology and society, is the ability to translate between different languages. And what I mean by languages here is not Arabic and French and English, but the language of policy, the language of technology, the language of industry. These worlds sort of don't naturally understand one another. The policy world is mostly not technical. It's mostly people that grew up studying political science or history and things like that. And the technical world maybe went to a liberal arts college and had to take a humanities class, but maybe didn't. I think we know a lot of social media founders maybe didn't study these things, but they need to understand one another. And the venture capital community or investment community, they need to be able to understand the technologies that they are investing in and sort of where policy is going, but they're also not sort of deeply fluent in those sectors. But the way that we sort of understand and craft policy and tech policy and strategy that is impactful and lead sort of our organizations through it or our countries through it is by figuring out how to foster useful conversations and discussions among that community and being able to translate the technical for policy people and translate what the policy world means. What are why does this senator from this state who's on this committee matter in US policy? What is the White House Office of Science and Technology policy? What is DARPA? These are things that the technical community needs to understand. And so I think an important ingredient for leadership is the ability to understand what your counterparts, what world they are coming from, what language they speak, and help sort of broaden that understanding of what is the bigger context here.
Interesting. That's very good. Thank you very much. You've also touched on the point earlier about the two nodes that you're adding to the big picture, which are private markets and the crowd. And I've also gotten the chance to work at the London Stock Exchange while I was in the UK. And so I've gotten to see how private markets are kind of like changing how funding works around the world, where a lot of founders actually have a lot of like an easy time, let's say, raising funds through the private markets that they somewhat don't have to even go on a public market to have access to more funds, which is quite interesting. But I want to touch more on leadership. And so I want to know, according to your experience, what are one set of beliefs, a personality trait, and a skill that you think every leader must have?
So a personality trait, a skill, and a set of and a belief.
Yes.
I think that you need to have a belief that people are good, that people sort of have sort of an inherent optimism or sense of the world is a good place. It can be a good place. We can make it better. I think that a personality trait that a good leader needs to have is being a good listener. I think it's really important to not just lead blindly, but to understand what will make people want to follow. And how do you sort of craft a message and a culture and a community that is excited to sort of rise to the occasion of what you're trying to build so that you can set a goal and everybody's excited to help march to it. And then a skill, I guess listening could be a skill, but I'm going to call it a personality trait.
Communication.
Yeah, I think that a skill that you need to have to be a successful leader is high bandwidth. So needing to be able to juggle a lot and sort of task switch between different things and not be okay with not having time to do a deep dive into everything. I think most leaders would like to spend more time working on one thing and being able to get immersed in it than they have time for. But that is the point of leading, is to have a team that you are able to sort of delegate things like that to and build trusting relationships and have confidence that the people you are leading are set up to succeed and master those sort of sub-tasks and sub-areas that the leader themselves doesn't have time to get immersed in. So I think being able to recognize that and have the bandwidth for it and be able to successfully delegate is another ingredient for successful leadership.
Amazing. So dealing with people seems like the way for being, let's say, doing better business, creating better policies, and advancing in today's world.
It's funny because we're talking about technology, but to be a good leader, it all comes down to people. So can't forget that.
100%. So I'd love to end with a fun question. If you were to travel back in time and meet your 20-year-old self, knowing all what you know today, what would be your advice to yourself in terms of leadership, knowing what you know today about technology and about what the world is like today in terms of AI and where it's going and where it's heading to? What would you tell yourself?
Well, other than to invest in a few stocks in particular, probably just to, I don't know if I would have any advice about sort of changing my path. It was a circuitous one. I spent the first few years of my career, my early 20s, working on Middle East policy, actually, and working at think tanks and in management consulting. I then went back to grad school, and I didn't take a single class that focused on technology or cyber or anything. I said, no, I'm going to continue to focus on the Middle East, on sort of social movements and things like that. It was very interesting. I loved it. I don't use much of that in my work today, only a little bit, but I found myself in the technology world, and I realized I loved it because it is an area where there's so much white space and change happening at any given moment that sort of coming in with a fresh perspective is welcome, because there is so much going on and so many new things that the ability to sort of understand where things are going, how they're changing, do things like horizon scanning and thinking about where the technology is going. It's really an area that's ripe for change. So I think what I would tell myself as a 22-year-old is it's okay to not be an expert. You can jump into a sector, a new policy area and learn fast and spend time not as a technical person, but really learning and understanding the community So going in with no tech policy background, I then spent nearly 5 years really getting to know and understand the innovation ecosystem, the tech community, different sectors, convening biotech CEOs for 3 weeks to talk about where the technology is going, running a year-long commission on fusion energy with CEOs that are trying to bring fusion power to the grid, running a task force on robotics, bringing together generative AI CEOs. That's something my 20 or 22-year-old self never would have imagined that I could do and become sort of a conversant in. And I think being okay with not knowing everything about a subject and wading into it is something that I would say to get comfortable with. And also that life and career is really about getting comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I used to be terrified of public speaking. In my grad school class, I took a public speaking class, and it was the worst part of my week every week. And I don't think that I could have imagined doing something like this back when I was in grad school, but I've actually come to really enjoy it.
So, I think your 20-year-old self would be really proud of you now.
Thank you very much. I think yours would too.
Thank you.
All of yours. But I think just letting you surprise yourself is something that I would go back and say. And it's okay to not know where the path is going to lead. Planning, I think, is still a good thing, but your plans are never going to go the way you think they will.
Amazing. Can I add one quick question? Because I don't think we'll get the chance to meet someone like you ever again. So I'd love to ask you one final question. With regards to what you know and what you've seen in the industry, what do you think we should be most grateful for with regards to the technologies that we're developing today? How can it improve our lives as a species?
I think that we have more access to information and in new ways than humans have ever had. I think that's really scary in a lot of ways because it makes us question what our own role is going to be and what kinds of careers and jobs there are. But I think the kinds of opportunities it will unleash for humanity, for individuals, for society, is really something that all humans should be grateful for if we're able to sort of harness it the right way. I think we really, truly can do things like cure cancer and figure out how to put fusion energy on the grid and travel to other planets in outer space. And not to get too sci-fi or techno-optimist, there's plenty of challenges. But I think that fundamentally, technologies have improved societal well-being and livelihoods, and that is something that will happen with AI and in a way that's unlike the technologies before it. So I think we should be grateful that we're here at a time where we're going to get to see what that change looks like.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Ms. Abigail.
Absolutely.
I found the conversation very insightful, very inspiring. Thank you to you all for watching. You've just watched Z.Band, the show where young Tunisians meet those shaping the future. Follow us on IACE's social media channels. Goodbye and see you soon for a new episode of Z.Band.